Would you look at CNN talking about this murderer, this suspected murderer? Watch this.
The reaction online is also just such a reinforcement of how much aesthetics, attractiveness, I mean, like the shallowness of the American people, the American people who are online, we'll say, is very much on display here. Part of, yes, there's absolutely a bubbling anger about the inequity in the country writ large and in the healthcare system, no question. But so much of the clips we were watching at the top of this segment are driven by the fact that this is an attractive.
I know, we got to drop the banner to show why.
And it is deeply troubling that we are celebrating this person who's committed cold-blooded murder because he clearly went to the gym.
One take.
Okay, so what happened in that clip for the listening audience is that Casey Hunt, the anchor, chimes in, we've got to drop the banner to show them why. Like, show him his abs. There's something incredibly crass, sophomoric, simple about the discussions these people are having around this man who gunned down a fellow American. We haven't seen an open assassination attempt like this in a long time, Heather, and the seriousness is just missing.
Again, part of me rebels against us even having this conversation, Megyn. We should not be having to persuade other people that you don't get to kill a corporate executive because you disagree with his policies. Why are we drawn into this? But if we didn't have it, I guess they'd go unchallenged. But one wonders again and again, what common ground do we have now with people on the progressive left and even liberals? If you can't even agree, I used to think that, well, there's no common ground because we can't even agree that chromosomes determine one's biological sex, that we have made this enormous progress in understanding genetics. We should be celebrating that. We have cracked the genetic code. This is one of the greatest feats of human understanding. And now we're throwing that all out in favor of this completely politicized gender theory view that, in fact, sex is something assigned at birth, not written into every single cell in our body and can be changed at will by people that decide they hate the patriarchy. I used to think if we can't agree about that, it's hopeless. But now it turns out it's even worse than that. The fundamental law that you cannot kill, you shall not commit murder, we can't even agree on that. So What do we do? I mean,
No, we have to forge on without them. These are not people we can reason with. We just have to defeat them and forge on without them. I do want to ask you, you're not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but it is bizarre, Heather, that this guy was valedictorian of this Tony Boys School in Maryland, went on to the University of Pennsylvania where he got a BA and an MA in computer science, engineering, and math, I think was his minor, goes on to work for some tech companies. Though I will say the employment history started to get a little sketchy. They say he worked for 10 different companies in the past 10 years. Now, that would have been when he was 16 to 26. But it's not like he found a great job and just kept it upon graduating from UPenn. I'll just show you a little bit from his high school graduation speech as valedictorian. He wasn't particularly articulate or impressive, I will admit. But he seemed normal. And this is just, 8 years ago. Listen to this. It's SOT 12.
Just like we've done these past few years, we'll be exploring the unknown. Whether that be attending colleges across the country, traveling the world during gap years, or fulfilling military service in foreign countries. As we embrace the new, however, we won't forget the old. Our friendships, values, and memories from Gilman will always stay with us. So, to the class of 2016, a kind of class that only comes around once every 50 years. It's been an incredible journey, and I simply can't imagine the last few years with any other group of guys.
All the advantages, education, wealth, apparently a nice family that was looking for him when he went missing at age 26, couldn't find him, was doing its best to try to retrieve him. Lots of friends, according to them, good looks. It's very strange what would make him go from that to, I'll let you hear it from John Miller, who's an intel analyst now on CNN. He's the chief law enforcement and intel analyst, talking about what was in his manifesto that the police found on his person when they arrested him. SOT 10.
Well, he was railing against the healthcare industry, which, of course, fits into the scenario here. He talks about how these parasites had it coming. He starts off basically saying, I don't want to cause any trauma, but it had to be done. So a second page really kind of goes into problems with the health industry. He raises the question, why do we have the most expensive healthcare in the world, but we're 42, rated 42 in life expectancy around the world? It was talking about the healthcare industry and the need for violence. I mean, especially when you talk about, the opening, which is that it had to be done. These parasites, had it coming.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's always a question, are these people just simply crazy? And again, if it's the other guy that's committed this atrocity, we are going to be inclined to blame the rhetoric, to blame the ideology. If it's our guy, and again, let's be honest, it is conceivable that some right-wing kook, especially during the election, could take the language that Biden is a threat to democracy, that he is a fascist or a totalitarian, which there's an argument, and given their censorship of speech, that's a completely deserved label, and then acted totally unjustifiably upon that. So, that's that difficult link between when does ideology lead to violence, or is it a complete break? It's irrelevant, and what's really going on is you've got somebody here who's just psychologically deranged and is psychotic and does not understand basic moral principles and has no human empathy. I can tell you, as far as the STEM background, because I was surprised by that too, you think engineering. In my experience, scientists, and with all due respect, and I revere scientists and for their what should be their commitment to universal reason and the colorblind pursuit of knowledge, but they can be very naive politically. I would say about half of them are actually in favor of totally destructive race and gender preferences in scientific hiring, and can be very naive about economic matters. They're pure redistributionists and anti-capitalists. So anyway, that's not an inoculation against this, but it just may be that he's got a disintegrating moral compass and cognitive capacities to be able to assess actions. In fact, I thought his getaway plans were kind of crazy. I think he let himself wide open. Other people I've seen on TV thought, oh, he's a very smart guy. I don't know why he's still holding on to the gun. I would have biked all the way to the East River and thrown it in. I don't think they could possibly find it there. So something else may be going on, and maybe it's not fair to blame the left-wing Antifa Occupy Wall Street rhetoric against the so-called capitalist parasites. But nevertheless,
he's the right age. He's the right age for a psychotic break. We don't know. Right. He had all sorts of icons on his social media that suggested he might have been into psychedelics. That's not confirmed. They don't make you normally psychotic, but the god of psychedelics was on this show telling us, this Hopkins researcher saying, if you have any history of schizophrenia in your family, you should not be doing these. You should not be doing these. They can be helpful to people who are who don't have that history and are depressed and need to look at the world in a different way. We've had those people on the show too, but they would rule out anybody who had that sort of a history in their family because they can cause a psychotic break from which you cannot return. That's what's so nuts about it. That's pure speculation on my part. His back issues have been documented now. His friends are coming out talking to CNN about how he had some massive back problem that caused him a lot of pain, but no reports so far of any beef with an insurance company. For those of us who have been holding our breath for the past several months, waiting for this election, we can finally exhale. Work can now be done on the major issues this country's facing, one of the most significant being our national debt. The fact is our nation's broke, and that debt is a house of cards that cannot be quickly dismantled. So the strategy for you probably remains the same when it comes to your investments. You might want to diversify your savings. This is why I want to tell you about Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control, out of our president's control, so it can be important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group can help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And the best news is it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Text MK to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold. Plus, right now you will receive a free 1-ounce silver eagle for every $5,000 purchased. Protect your savings with Birch Gold and text MK to 989898 to claim your eligibility for free silver today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.